it just works. Did I just read the brochure? All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today we're going to do a kind of a balanced review. I'm going back to my old style of doing reviews with a little checklist because I want to talk about the iPhone 13 Pro. And I just want to start by saying this is a great device. But we're going to dig into the meat of this thing and really talk about my thoughts on it. So I've had this, I think, since launch. But I was messing around, kind of pranking my iPhone subscribers. Hopefully some of you got that joke when I said rematch for the Z Flip 3. But when I went to exchange it, they didn't have any blue. So I took the gray and I just kind of turned that into a fun thing with that little short snippet I did in that short. But hopefully you guys got that. But nonetheless, I've been pretty much using the iPhone 13 Pro since launch. And the 13 is, I will follow up on the 13, guys. But, you know, I can only multitask. I don't want to give these false readings of the devices by not actually using them. So this has been a primary driver alongside the Z Flip 3. And the Z Flip 3 is being used to record this video because I know some of you guys like to ask what I'm using. This is being recorded with the Z Flip 3. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the hardware on this device. Now, if I'm being completely honest, this is a premium feeling device. This thing feels good, folks. It is just a solid feeling device. It's got some weight to it, super hefty, and it is definitely going to be felt in your pocket, but not in a bad way, because this is the Pro model, not the Pro Max. And I kind of feel sorry for the people who have the Pro Max if they want to throw it, if they're going to the gym or they're going to work out, and they want to throw this in their pocket and they have a case on it. You're going to feel it. I'm still wowed at people that say, oh, it's not too bad. This device right here, Apple added weight to it because, you know, obviously you got bigger batteries, and so the device itself feels heavier. Not in a bad way, though. I'm just letting you know that it's a lot heavier, or a little bit heavier than the previous generation iPhone. So you'll know that this is there. I think middle ground for people who want a little bit more. Obviously, the Max is totally not necessary, but I'll talk about why. But for those that just want a iPhone 13, the Mini and the 13 are the way to go. Especially the 13, the one that has the same size screen as this. But hardware on this thing is absolutely beautiful. They did still keep the cutout at the top. They just made it a little smaller, which is what it is. We know that's what it's going to be like. So they even did it on their new MacBook Pros, that's kind of cool to me. I don't really see the big deal about it, but I'd rather have that on a computer than a phone, I guess I would say. So the screen is very nice. I mean, content plays on here just beautifully. It is ridiculous how beautiful this screen is. So when playing video and things like that, and you do have the high refresh rate this time, if that means something to you. You can turn that off in the settings, but most people probably won't even know to go there. But nonetheless, the hardware overall is good. The camera modules are freaking huge now. I mean, they're just beyond big. It's when you compare it to the previous generation, they are really big. So just bear that in mind. But it's not like nothing's going to happen. You know, they're just bigger, and I just wasn't expecting them to be the camera modules to be so big. But it's what it is. So overall hardware, we're still looking at the same Lightning port, but you do have the stereo speaker setup. They've actually moved the top speaker of the phone, the earpiece, up to the edge of the device to compensate for the smaller cutout at the top. But you still have a Lightning port, and it's probably going to be that way for some time, folks. We're not getting Type-C on an iPhone anytime soon, from what I can tell. And that's just that discussion. So hardware, I give this device a solid 9.5. This is some pretty great feeling hardware. So features and options is something that Apple doesn't really have a lot of, and if they do have them, they don't really allow you to use them on your own, i.e. Pro model. And we'll talk about that later. I mean, there's no split screen or anything like that. And if I'm being honest, the only phone I really genuinely use split screen on is the Z Flip 3. As far as phones go, but tablets, I use it on the iPad Pro and everything. But on my phones, the Z Flip 3 is probably the one I use it the most because it has that sidebar to remind me. And that's the truth. So with an iPhone, I guess I really don't care that it doesn't have split screen. It's not that important to me. But somebody tell me what other features and functions Apple's phones just genuinely have. Like, it's just a phone and it has this feature, these features. What are they? Because I know that's not what this phone is about, but features and options is important to people. So as far as features and options go, I don't really have a lot that I can pop up off the top of my head that's so great about the iPhone 13 models at all, to be honest. Cameras, let's just get this out of the way. The cameras on here do good outside. That's been or if I'm filming in my living room or something like that, that is when these cameras, I've said this a million times, it has to be in a well-lit area, period. That is when you're going to see the true cameras on this device. And that is why when the Z Flip 3, I said the Z Flip 3 beat the iPhone 13 Pro, it's because the iPhone doesn't do well in artificial lighting. At least when I tried it, I couldn't get it to work that great in artificial lighting. But outside, the iPhone shines, man. It's really, really good. But overall, as a complete camera setup, the Pro features, you don't get to control it. Like if you want to do a macro shot, Apple, they say turn on the wide angle lens, I think they said, but you don't have to do that. You can just zoom right in and just get close to it and it switches on its own. And so there's no Pro features of the iPhone. I mean, maybe when they say Pro, they're talking about just what the cameras can do. But personally, I'd like to have some control over the cameras. Like right now, I'm shooting in Pro mode on the Z Flip 3. I've adjusted the audio to where I like it. I've adjusted the ISO the way I like it. These are just things that you can do. And if I shoot the same video in auto, it's still gonna be great with the Z Flip 3. So the Pro features are just, I don't know. I don't see the title Pro at all. But hey, ultimately, Apple's going to have to do something with that because using the name Pro isn't really fair. Coffee? So while there are Pro features here, there's not really any control for a Pro user. Now, I don't claim to be a Pro user, but thanks to companies like LG and other companies like Samsung, obviously, LG, I think, was one of the first to do like that manual video, controlling the mic gain, doing all these different things. Apple still isn't there. So stop blaming them Pro, I guess. But overall, this is going to be some of the best cameras a consumer could probably get. And the Pro lineup isn't so much Pro to me. And that's just that. Not being able to control the depth sensor is, like manually going in, it's just not that great. So, but the telephoto lens is absolutely fantastic. I shot a quick snippet of some of the Bison phones, and I've got the new Bison, by the way, the Bison X. Maybe I'll show you a snippet in this video, I'm not sure. But I've had it for about a week now. The 3x zoom, fantastic. That's one of the reasons why I like this over the 13. It's really clear. But digital zoom isn't bad on other devices. It's just that quick access, and then you're getting that, you're for sure going to get a clear shot when you use that telephoto lens. I mean, at least that's been my experience outside in really good lighting. So the cameras are a 50-50 with me. They're not, as far as photos go, they take great photos. But in order to get the photos to look like other devices that I like, I have to set it to cool, which is my default. And then I have to go in afterwards and do an enhancement or color correct it if I want. Just to post a photo, it's too much work. So that brown hue that lives on Apple phones, it's noticeably there. Even on this brand new device right here, it's noticeably here. But some people like that warm. They like warm. They don't like cool. So I personally like cool. Performance. Performance is something where Apple takes charge on their computer lineup, their tablet lineup, and their phone lineup. So I'm waiting for another manufacturer to be able to beat the M1 chip. And then Apple just recently announced the brand new M1 Pro and M1 Max. Now, I personally picked up one of the new MacBook Pros. I don't want to give up my MacBook Air M1 because I really like it. It's nice and thin. It's portable. So honestly, I think I'm probably going to sell. I didn't do a trade, but I think with Apple, you have like 14 days to decide if you're going to turn a device in towards a trade credit. So that is what I'll probably do. I'll probably just ditch the Mac Mini and use, because that computer is going to be way more powerful and it has the ports. Now, back to the phone. Performance is key. And I think this is where a lot of consumers don't know how good they really have it with iPhones. With Android, let me take a sip of coffee before this. With Android, it's always a hit or a miss because it's open source. So if you're not using, I hate to say it, but if you're not using a certain OEM's device that's running Android, you could be running Android 5 and they've tricked the system in code and put overlay to say 11 or 12. That's the bad part about the inconsistency sometime on the Android side, and therefore performance, it'll be labeled 8 cores and all this other stuff, and it could be fake. You see what I'm saying? So with Apple, you know what you're getting, and this is where consumers win with iPhones, iMacs, MacBooks, anything Mac. You can keep this stuff for a very long time. The iPhone, my iPad, I have an iPad from 7 years ago? It's running the latest operating system. That is where consumers win. That's where they win. So performance, Apple has the most powerful chips in all of the devices right now. They blow everything else away. All of their entire lineup, their tablets, their computers, their laptops, their phones, they blow everything else out of the water. If you deny this, you're in denial. I guess you're in denial if you think different, because this is a fact. Now, while I'll be honest and say I'm not totally getting all of that performance, only time I get that real good performance and power out of my devices is when I use them to edit videos. That's it. Stop emailing me. That's when I get the best out of my devices. And that's the truth. When I'm shooting 4K, when I'm shooting 1080p 60, when I'm editing on the devices, that is when I feel like I'm getting my money's worth, and Apple's products have never let me down with that. Never. So software is something that, and I'm going to tackle battery and everything too. Coffee. It's about what you prefer. Now, I know people that have been using iPhones only. That's all they came from like Windows Phone and went straight to iPhone, or they used Android at the beginning and didn't really keep it that long. When iPhones came out, boom, they went straight over. You see what I'm saying? So they know the Apple ecosystem, and this is what they love. So or they just know the software, so they know what they're getting. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that there are so many more possibilities outside of iOS that people just don't really know about. So UPS, FedEx, boom, boom, boom. But the software is such a great experience as a whole. Here's something really simple that I like about using iOS, or coupled with like a MacBook or something, an iPad or something like that. I can copy something on here, put the phone down, paste it over here. I can open up the browser here on my Mac and point, like you see what I'm doing. I'm pointing at my MacBook Air right here. I can open up the browser over here and then continue over here, or vice versa. Those are things that are not new, but since Apple's software is, God, okay, UPS, since Apple's software is so smooth and social media is really good on iPhones, it just works. Did I just read the brochure? Fact is, Continuum from Windows, Android's ecosystem with Google, they all do the same thing. It's just that Apple's marketing team beat them to the punch, or they're not marketing like Apple. So their software, finito, it's done. They don't need to do anything else. All they have to do is keep adding on a little by a little by a little, because this is what they do. They add on a little bit here, a little bit there. That's what they do. Anyway, but software, finito, it's really good. You can't hate on it. It's a little too simple and it becomes boring after a while for me. However, I do like it. I'm not going to front on it. And I think it's really solid. How about that? So I really like Mac OS and things. I'm really more on the Apple side when it comes to computers. That's where I think they shine. Phones are just like that second thing, you know what I'm saying, or that third thing. But nonetheless, the software, ooh, it's so nice. So battery life is really solid. I mean, I had a screenshot. If I can find it, I'll post it up because I've been taking so many screenshots of battery. Folks, the battery on here. Let me see if I can find this here. I have to show you. Where is that screenshot at? I took it yesterday, I think it was. So I think I was at like 35% battery, and I had 6.5 hours of screen on time or whatever, or just over 6.5 screen on time, and I hadn't charged it. It's been over 24 hours. Incredible. Just incredible. I was at like a day and a half, I think, with 35% left and 6.5 hours of screen on time. And I'm using that formula because, you know, I'm just talking about, I like being off the charger a long time. But the iPhones read, you know, like the battery meters or whatever. So this is great news. You really do, and I can imagine how good the Pro, I watch everybody with the Pro Max and I applaud them, but I don't need that. I don't need the size, knowing that I'm going to get this fantastic battery on the Pro. The 13 doesn't have as good a good battery, but it does have great battery. And I'll talk about that later. But battery life is a go. Now, the last thing about these devices are the price, and they are always going to be somewhat of a fail. But if you want, and when I use the terminology fail, I mean they're not going to be well priced in the consumer world. They're not going to be something that's beneficial to the consumer when you start to look at these Pro models. The 13 models is your out. Remember, if you watch this channel regularly, I always tell you that a company will give you a out. This is Apple's out. The iPhone mini, the iPhone 13. That's your out. You don't have to have the Pro series. You don't have to have the telephoto lens. You get digital zoom. You still get all the same camera. You're missing the camera. You're missing the battery. You're missing the Pro Motion. You're missing certain things on those other devices. But at the same time, they perform the same. They pretty much are the same phones minus a few things. And to your benefit, I would always tell a person, don't do what I do. Do what I say. If you're old enough, you've heard that by your parents at some point or another. So, sip of coffee on the way out here. This is a solid device. It lacks in the camera department. It lacks in the price department. But you have an option for something else. Because these are very expensive. For the $1,000 or $1,100 price tag, whatever this started at, you probably wonder why I say that, because you know, government discount is huge, which is why I purchased the new MacBooks and the Mac Mini and the MacBook Air. That's why I buy all these things, because I'm appreciative and thankful, but I served the country for you guys and also was in law enforcement for a little bit, short private investigator and riot control for a little bit of time before getting hurt, but I'm a war veteran. So I'm not gonna say I earned the right to get all these things. I'm fortunate and blessed to be able to buy these things at a huge discount. So let me say this on the way out. The iPhone 13 Pro, again, cameras for me, not the best, because I can shoot this same video right here and the footage will look completely different. As a matter of fact, I'll throw a snippet in there of this camera in this same spot. And you're gonna see a difference in the way it looks. I'll put it at the end of this video. But cameras are, they're okay. Price is still too high for what they're offering. It says it's a Pro phone, but it doesn't give you options to use the Pro features. Still has a lightning port. But on the upside, this is one of the best phones on Apple right now. This particular model, the 13 Pro, if you can afford to, grab you a 1 terabyte or a 512, keep it for a full year or more, you are going to be set. I don't know how, you'll be set for at least the next 4, 5, 6 years based on Apple's track record. If you're not going to sell and you're going to keep it, shoot for the 512 or the 1 terabyte. It's not an investment. But if you're, let me stress this. If you're a creator and you plan on using this to create, shoot for the 512 or the 1 terabyte. this is your best option because you can do ProRes once you go past 256 gig. I don't do ProRes, but creator. So consumers, you stick with the 13, the 6.1 inch model. Stick with the 13. If you have small hands, go with the mini. You're going to be extremely happy. You're going to have what I have, just minus a few things that you won't even use anyway, and you won't miss them. Creators, 13 Pro, not the 13 Pro Max. Now, if you don't have another device, like if you don't have like MacBooks and minis and tablets like some creators do, 13 Pro Max, 512 and above. Keep it for infinity and beyond. Create with it. Make it work for you. Make it pay for itself, creators. When you're buying something, make sure it's paying for itself. Some of you guys have mastered the art of that. Some haven't. But you'll grow, you'll learn, you'll figure it out. So the iPhone 13 Pro is the one I recommend, 6.1 to creators and people who want a pro device. And consumers, you go ahead and grab the mini or the 13 you choose. You're going to be good all the way around. It's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed. And let me show you that clip of this device sitting right here. And I'll even use the rear cameras too. It's a matter of personal preference, but you'll be able to see the difference. Let's go. All right, so as promised, here is my Z Flip. It is actually not very hot. I thought it was going to be really warm to the touch, but it's not. It's really good. That was like almost a 22-minute video, I think, and it is doing great. I even have it in this leather case. It's fantastic. So anyway, here's the quality from the iPhone 13 Pro rear camera in the same spot. Check out the tones. I know you saw the tones and colors switch as soon as I switched over to this. So what do you think? It's your man Jay. If you're interested in an iPhone, definitely pick one of these up. I think you'll have to finagle sometimes with the camera, but you will enjoy the device as a whole. I think you'll like it. Now I'm really out. Let's go. All right, guys, welcome back to this part of the video. This is going to be the official closeout on this video, and I'm gonna tackle a few things right up front. So, David Rice, I appreciate you giving me the feedback on the settings in the camera. You know, the ironic thing about this is where reviewers, I think if you're a true tech enthusiast or reviewer, you should always humble yourself and take other people's feedback and criticism when you should. So I've been having issues with my iPhone having a brown hue. Now, the fact is the brown hue is still kind of there. It's just better. So my walls aren't as dark as what they come across on the iPhone, and that's fine. This video is with the iPhone 13 Pro's rear cameras with HDR turned off. So thanks to David Rice, I believe that's his name, David Rice, I posted a snippet online, a clip of the video that was in this video, letting you know how to do some color corrections to get the footage to look even close to what the Samsung Z Flip 3's footage looks like. So the video was shot, and then I was going to release it today, but I'm glad I posted online because I got valuable feedback. I always tell you, if you're adding some valuable feedback to the conversation, I'm going to use it. And so I don't know if this guy David Rice is a creator or not, but he's a person who has some knowledge about when you're doing video, and it helped. So this footage looks worlds better indoors with HDR turned off. And you know, I think the sad part is of all this, if he's not a creator, it just goes to show that, you know, you don't have to be a creator to help a creator, because I believe that you should never come across as that you know everything. And this guy David gave me some feedback, and online when you're typing these things, he probably thought I was a little salty, but that's why I told him, no, I appreciate your feedback, and you guys know me, I'll publicly say thank you or I apologize or whatever it is. I don't really care. It's just being human. But the iPhone 13 Pro's cameras do very well indoors with HDR turned off. Outdoors, it's really good too. You don't have to use HDR, but he was saying that, you know, pretty much to get the iPhone to be close to the Z Flip, you need to shut off HDR, and he's right. Why is it the iPhone 12's HDR is better than the iPhone 13? I've never had to make these adjustments on the iPhone 12, but it is what it is. I'm going to try to give you the best footage that consumers can actually do themselves, because Apple will throw these phones out there and try to convince people that they're the best and all this other stuff, and they really don't, you know, walk people through things. And so my channel, here's the tip. Turn on, and I don't want to hear all you people, all you creators out there, oh, I knew that. No, you didn't, because you would have said something already. So again, props to this guy, David, because if anybody was paying attention to my videos, it had a really bad hue in it. Now, like I said, that hue is still there, but it's a heck of a lot better than the footage was before. Let's be clear. The footage looked muddy or really dull, and this just makes a world of difference. I really appreciate the feedback. So with that being said, what does that mean about all my previous videos that I've done indoors with the iPhone 13 Pro? Well, they were done. And so I'll do an updated video with the iPhone 13 Pro's video cameras with HDR turned off. I will do an exclusive video, and all the footage will be with the HDR turned off. And I think that'll give a better representation of what these cameras could possibly do. Now, how do I feel about it versus the Z Flip 3 outside with HDR turned on? I personally still think that the Z Flip 3 has great cameras, but the iPhone cameras look fantastic outside. I mean, most phones can do good outside, but again, when I see people vlogging on YouTube, they're outside vlogging, and I'm an inside vlogger. So to help out, turn off HDR, Jay. So I appreciate you guys taking a look at this footage and sitting with me through this pretty lengthy video. If you watched it as a premiere, then great, you got the first look. I love doing premieres to get your reactions. But people who watch it after the fact, sometimes they skip around the video and they miss some of the most important parts. So this is an important part of this video, and I hope you guys who didn't watch the premiere watched it all the way to this point so you can see the current feel or how I feel about this. The first part of this video was shot yesterday in the afternoon, and this part is being shot the next day. But I was willing to remove that other video because I didn't post it yet, and now you're seeing all of this together. So, you know, this is a good thing for me because I wanted to use the iPhone videos. And you know what? This is going to be more true to life when I put it against the Pixel 6 Pro. It won't really get slammed as hard, and we'll see what's really going on with it. I might even do an updated video part 2 because I've already kind of put that out there. And so I might go ahead and do a part 2 or a rematch with this phone versus the Z Flip 3. But I think you can kind of see in this video how it would turn out. But ultimately, thank you guys for coming on board and giving feedback. And technically, T got on that post as well online and said, you know, Jay, I just can't duplicate this. But when he posted a picture of himself indoors, it was horrible, to be honest. It was cartoonish. It didn't look good from the front camera. It just didn't look good. But as I explained to him in that post, it was actually video that I was talking about. But, you know, realistically, I think the iPhone's cameras take really good photos as well. They just have that hue to them that I don't like. So I set it to cool, and it does a lot better. So the camera discussion about the iPhones is done at this point for me. So I'm going to just leave HDR off indoors, period. iPhone fans rejoice. You get a checkbox from your man, Jay. These cameras are legit indoors with HDR turned off. Now let's officially sign off. And David, I appreciate you, man. Take care.